2, 1.
Welcome to the third in our series of spirituality talks. Our speakers today are Father Albertus Joni, SCJ, and Father Jose Angel Martinez, MSA. Father Joni of the Priest of the Sacred Heart is from Indonesia. His specialty is contextual theology. He hopes to further his studies at Marquette University. Father Jose, a missionary of the Holy Apostles, is studying spirituality in Rome. He is originally from Colombia. Together they will speak about content and contemplation, a spirituality of the internet.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have to ask pardon for my poor English. I hope you will understand my English.
Oh, okay.
Well, I will start my talk today with a little story. I want to share about a little girl named Chapel. Chapel, like a church. Chapel.
Okay.
She's a daughter of our sacristan, and she was named Chapel simply because she was born nearby a chapel.
Huh.
So Indonesians are sometimes too simplistic. I wonder what name her father would have given her if she had been born in a car. She might be named after Honda, Toyota, Hyundai, or Ford. And can you imagine her teachers would call her Miss Honda or Miss Toyota? I don't know. Chapel is now 3 years old, and I couldn't understand how could she use her finger and type the 6 letters cartoon on the YouTube app. She's only 3-year-old, and she couldn't read at that time. I had thought that she must be a super smart baby until I realized that she would spend hours daily watching the cartoon from her mom's smartphone. She would get angry and throw her tantrum whenever the smartphone was taken away by her parents. I was surprised because I can see Chapel's anger and ego when her mom didn't allow her to open to watch the cartoon from YouTube. Several months later, I was surprised because Facebook went crazy for a Russian teenager who hangs herself and broadcasted the whole suicide process through Facebook live video. It's crazy. Or the young dad in Thailand who recorded online the hanging of his baby and then his own suicide live on Facebook. On several occasions, I found in the Chamber of Confession, as a priest, I found an increasing number of married couples who had extramarital affairs, which were caused by private online messenger service, WhatsApp, and Line. I have a question for you. Would your husband or wife or your superior allow you to check on their smartphone today? I think the moral of those stories is this. While there are countless exciting improvements in technology and social media, we have greatly increased communications across cultures and positively brought attention to events around the world. It is imperative that we examine the negative implications that information technology usage has had on the human experience. It is not difficult to admit that now we live in the era of smartphones and dumb people. More than 3 billion people are now using internet, according to the United Nations agency that oversees international communications. More than 3 billion out of 7.5 billion. Wow. According to that report, we become more familiar with the access to information technology, and suddenly internet is not only about Chapel, the hot-tempered little girl from Indonesia. It is also about you, about me, about us, who are still struggling and impressed by the advanced technology of information, namely internet. It is also the story of our family and our friends who are attached tightly to the technology, to gadgets, to online games, online gambling, to real-time video chatting, to online dating. We have now several applications for online dating. Well, amazing. I'm not so sure whether Father Jamie or Father Talfasi have the same online dating in your phone. Maybe, who knows? It's anonym. We have overflooding of information that distract us from the real important things in our lives. Along with the struggle to remain attentive, many people who abuse internet or overuse social media networks as their main form of communication report feeling anxious and depressed after overuse of social media. Symptoms of anxiety, depression, and obsessive compulsive disorder can be triggered by the overuse of social media. As individuals are constantly concerned about their posts and communicating with others, social media also causes many young adults to compare themselves to others and envy a life that may not be attainable, since many brands and individuals only share a small percentage of their lives online. It is important to remember that an Instagram or Twitter or Facebook may just be a reflection of the best part of a person's life, and it isn't an accurate representation of them as whole. How do I deal personally as priest with these phenomena? It's not easy, I have to admit. I am a young priest. I'm 31 years old, even although I look older. I was raised up and formed in both religious and urban culture, where my rosary is as much as important as my iPhone, and where Facebook and Twitter are inseparable from my ministry among the youths. I have around 35,000 followers in digital media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, 35,000, yes. And my books were circulated among 20,000 readers. I managed also to be a co-founder and advisor of an online-based charitable foundation with another 11,000 followers, which has raised more than $2 million for church renovations in the mission area. In short, I was very active. This is one church in Indonesia. It's a church.
Nice.
Can you imagine that?
It's beautiful.
Church.
Yes.
In short, I was very active in social media. After my first ordination, my first year of ordination, I was assigned in a remote area of Sumatra Island, filled with a lot of migrant workers. My people worked mostly in the millions of acres of rubber plants and palm oil tree plantation. The first months there were like a torture for me, for I was at a time suddenly become disconnected from everything. I was far away not only from signal, from the cell phone signal, but also to access of electricity. We didn't have the electricity back then in our mission area. It's like the 18th century. At first, this experience of this connectivity stressed me out. So I have to go and celebrate the Mass with a motorcycle, short pants, because the roads are so muddy. Yeah, I will go like this. It's normal for a priest. This is the Mass kit. I put all the chalice, the wine, the host here, and the bag is my clothes. So yeah, I feel lonely. I felt lonely at that time, but slowly I enjoyed the adventure. And amazingly, God gave me back the sense of awareness. I can hear again the music of Mother Nature at nights, the song of crickets and owls. I can see again the live paintings of the moon and the sea of bright stars at night. Everything seems so peaceful without notifications from your Facebook or from your WhatsApp messenger. I could be totally immersed in the people's conversation and the waves of laughter of the Muslim villagers. I felt the contrast of having too much technological noise and the simplicity of silence. I started to realize that the interior silence and the strong commitment to self-control are two best filters for the chaotic information flooding in our modern, fast-paced environment. I think we need a certain spirituality to help us explore these two important keywords, namely self-control and interior silence. And now, it is Father Jose's turn to deepen these two keywords in his spiritual friend.
My speech.
I'm sorry.
It's another
Oh, yeah.
form of silence.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I briefly talk about some possible relationships between the internet and spirituality. On the surface, we can think that internet and spirituality have nothing in common, but in reality, they have much to share. The first thing that relates the internet to spirituality is that they need each other. Spirituality needs the internet to reach everybody, everywhere, and at every time. Through the internet, we can hear the live speeches of Pope Francis. We can participate in the Holy Mass when we are sick. We can even visit our favorite sanctuary from our desks and take a break to greet the Lord. What do you think about it? Can we do virtual adoration to the Blessed Sacrament through a webcam? Is it valid for you? Do you think it is only for sick people or for everybody? Well, the Church allows us, not only priests but also lay people with the good preparation, to do a spiritual direction through the internet and for others to receive it likewise. But we cannot hear confession, celebrate marriage, partake of communion, or any other sacrament. At least, not yet. However, we can find a lot of material online to improve our prayers and our meditations, so the internet can help spirituality in many ways. On the other hand, the internet also needs spirituality because, as you know, not everything on the internet is as holy and innocent as we wish. There are some dangerous sites that promote extremism, violence, pornography, sexual predators, piracy, discrimination, consumerism, confusion, etc. Virtues such as prudence and fortitude, justice and temperance are necessary not only to avoid these dangers, but also to evangelize in this environment. The internet without spirituality would be just a worldly thing. At least we Christians should learn and teach the spirituality of choosing every time we are connected. Every time we are online, we should reject what is harmful for our spiritual life and affirm what is good for our minds, what promotes healthy spirituality. But the last thing I want to share with you, and that's my favorite one, is the relationship between the internet and the spiritual world. Have you ever thought about it? One success of the internet is that it has created a parallel world, a cyber world that can be seen through images and sounds, that can impress our senses on a higher level and where we can feel free and happy. It's also called virtual reality. Where is the information we see on the internet? It's everywhere. We know there are some physical servers, thousands of powerful computers linked in a complex system whose capacity seems to have no end. It's like a spiritual world. Even if you can experience one part of it, there is more and more to find out. Now, when we profess our faith, we say, I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all things visible and invisible. My theory is the internet somehow reminds us of the existence of the spiritual world that we are searching for inside ourselves. The internet is like a foretaste of the invisible. It's a connection with people we love or like that overcomes the limits of space and time because it's almost instantaneous. The internet seems also all-knowing. In this sense, it can fill our desire for knowledge and communion we want and need. That definition is very close to what heaven is, and could explain why people lose themselves in the internet even without noticing that time is passing. It's ecstasy, and it feels good. The problem I see here is the tendency we have as human beings to think that this ecstasy is all that exists. We tend to take the internet as the end-all, but it's just a part of the reality. It's a means. It's an introduction to the real world which we hope for. Then, it is important to distinguish between the virtual world and the real world to avoid any sort of pathological isolation. So my solemn exhortation to you, for you today is, let's use the internet and every form of technology which God has put in our hands. But don't forget they are temporary, provisional. Enjoy the internet because it's great. But don't use it as an escape from this real world. And above all, as the creed finishes, don't forget the life of the world to come, where we will find the true happiness. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments that you'd like to make?
Would you guys teach a whole 3-credit class, please?
Yeah.
My goodness, that was amazing.
No, go over here.
Yeah. No questions?
It was perfect.
I think you've left us all speechless.
I have a question. I noticed in your slideshow, in a couple of the images, you included people with virtual reality goggles on. And I wonder if you've, because I know you're talking about, and I know that you do use different social media platforms for your ministry. Have you thought about how you might use virtual reality for that?
It is actually an accessible technology now, virtual reality. Samsung has just launched the 360 camera, 60 degrees camera. So you just put like this and snap and say cheese, and it will take all the 360 view of your surrounding.
Mm-hmm.
That is magical, I think, and it is now accessible. So for my ministry, for example, yeah, I can use it. I can use it, for example, because I'm the member of a charitable foundation for building the church in remote area. I will go there. Several people will go there and take the camera live and then record it online and upload it, and everyone in the United States, in Sweden, in everywhere practically with internet connections can be immersed in that virtual reality goggles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is for a good reason, but for the abusive reason, people now are making pornography things more immersive than ever. You can feel pornography 360 degrees. Well, I have not tested yet, but yeah, I think I think it will be very, very, very impressive. Yeah, it will change the way we communicate with each other.
Yeah. Thank you.
There's always positive and negative.
Yeah.
But in the church, I'm not sure. I think the church allows some, the use of internet, for example, to preach and maybe to do some spiritual direction, but it has some problems.